Hey guys, Jack Spirko here with another how-to on Fountain video. This one is for podcasters, creators, rather than everybody that uses Fountain. But I think it'll be interesting for consumers as well to see how creators can actually split the value you send with them to other folks. So on a daily basis, the way my splits work out, you can actually see this on Podcast Index. If you look up the show on Podcast Index, Fountain gets their cut, which is 4% of all value for value transactions for people who use the platform. Podcast Index takes 1%, and I take the rest, except for 20% of it goes to Tom. And Tom is the guy that does all my web admin stuff. And he does a lot of stuff he doesn't bill me for and what have you. So when I found value for value, I was like, this is a way I can compensate him. But today I did an episode with two awesome guys, and it went both out on Bitcoin Breakout and the Survival Podcast. And one of the really unique things about Fountain is I can not just split the show as a default. I can take an individual episode and I can split it with like a high profile guest like Brian Harrington or Guy Swan, or maybe I just have somebody on that I want to do something cool for or what have you. I could even be doing fundraising for a guest. Think about, there's a lot of different ways this could be used. Maybe it's not a high profile guest. Maybe I would have a guest on who I really wanted to help out with fundraising. And then this could be a way to do fundraising where I never touch the money, but you know you're dealing with the right person when you're delivering the money, and it's uncensorable. So let's take a look at how this works. So what we're going to do is we're going to look up the show and the individual episode in this case. And I'm going to go to the episode. And just as though I were going to boost the show, again, this is what creators do. This is not something you do as a consumer. You have to own the show to be able to do this. I'm going to hit the little lightning bolt like I'm going to boost, but you'll see on the just to the right side of where it says value for value boost episode, I'm going to hit splits. And when I hit splits, you'll see the existing splits there, and it shows me getting 95%. But of course, I'm not getting 95% because beneath that, you'll see Tom on Fountain getting 20%. Obviously, I can't be getting 95%. If Tom's getting 20, as the show owner, I'm then giving Tom 20%. Fountain takes their 4, Podcast Index takes 1% of all value for value that goes through the network. Now I'm going to hit Manage Episode Splits. And what I said I would do is I would give Guy Swan and Brian Harrington both a 20% share. So I'm going to say Update Episode Splits. I'm going to add Fountain user, and I'm going to search for you got to know their username. So the Guy Swan, and there he is. And so now he's added, and it defaulted to 10%. I'm going to go ahead and turn him up to 20%, and that. And then I'm going to go add Fountain user, Brian Harrington. Brian Harrington. And I'm going to do that, and I'm going to take him up to a 20% split. 21. I want to give him 21. I kind of wish this wasn't a slider. I wish it was where I could just enter, key in the number. I'm going to say Update Episode Splits. Now, the important thing to understand with what I just did, this was at the episode level. So if somebody boosts this episode or streams to this episode, everybody gets their splits now. And I did it both for the Bitcoin Breakout side and for the Survival Podcast side of this one. But what I also want to show you is if we look at a show, the Survival Podcast, I can go in the little 3 dots and go Manage Show Splits. And if I pull it up here, you'll see we're back to I own the podcast, so I'm giving away that 20% to Tom from Florida. Fountain takes their 4, Podcast Index takes their 1. So this is where you would manage your splits at the show level. Again, let's go back there real quick. You're in the entire show, not an individual episode. And we're down in an episode, we would go in and we would, if we're in an episode here, we hit the lightning bolt, we can manage splits at the episode level, go back. At the show level, we're going to be up at the 3 little dots on the top of the corner of the screen and manage show splits. And that's the default for every episode that goes out, including you could, for instance, give somebody a split of your whole show, do it for 48 hours and go in and delete the split. as the show owner, you control the splits at all times. So I am going to leave the splits open for Guy and Brian for good. Like that's just a thing. But I don't have to. I could let them have their split for 48 hours a week, a month, and then I could take the split away. And this is really interesting because today I did it because I had two cool guys on the show, and I also just kind of wanted to demonstrate what could be done. But again, think about it. Let's say I had a guest on, and that guest was going through some sort of really hard times, and we wanted to do fundraising for them. Instead of using GoFundMe or something like that, as long as they have they don't have to be a podcaster. They just have to have a Fountain account or run a Lightning node and have a pub key. So a less sophisticated guest, they're probably not going to run a Lightning node and have a pub key. But anybody in seconds can set up a Fountain account. So I could take and do fundraising for an entity, an organization, an individual. And what makes it nice for me is it's not passing through my hands. And this was kind of what we did the show on today. So you might want to check out that episode I just set the splits up on, because what else could you split? You could split salaries in a real world establishment. You could split in a drop shipping arrangement. And we talked about all this. So let's say that I had somebody that was shipping a product for me. I could have the money that covers their costs go to them, and the money that makes me my profit come to me. There's a lot of ways that this can be used. This is just a really simple way to use it with podcasting and content creation. We could also do what? If we had an audiobook platform like an Audible, but a Lightning-enabled Audible book program, maybe the author gets their cut, the narrator gets their cut. If somebody does editing, they get their cut. This is unlimited. And it's why I won't, those of you that are like I call you my reluctant children of Bitcoin, and you wonder why I won't let you go, because this is too powerful. This is going to change the world. And if you are a podcaster and you're not using value for value, you're not on Fountain. And it doesn't mean you have to be receiving into a Fountain wallet. You could, if you run your own node or you want to receive somewhere else, you can receive into any wallet that you want that's enabled for value with Lightning. But if you're not interacting on Fountain, if you're not using this technology, if you're not interacting with your users, if you're not reading the boostergrams on air, you're a podcaster that hates money. Don't do that, because if you hate money, money will hate you. Let me know what features you want to see how to use in Fountain next, and I will continue to make videos on how to use Fountain and get the most out of it.